Hi, Sagittarius. Welcome to your timeless reading. I trust that this will find you at the time and place that it most resonates. And as always, use your discernment when listening to tarot readings because you know your life and your situation better than anyone else. These are general readings, which means that I'm just reading energies, looking at situations, patterns, beliefs, that type of thing. And I don't really do specific career or love readings, although sometimes it does come up that way. And these readings are meant more as confirmation or guidance or food for thought rather than me telling you what is going to happen to you or what you should do. So that's sort of my little spiel. I'm pulling from, this time, the movie tarot, which was gifted to me by a friend from film school. And this little playing card deck called Movie Genius. It's not an oracle deck, it's just playing cards, but I am just having fun doing some movie-themed readings because I love movies, I love movie magic, and I just thought I would share that with us this time. And the funny thing about this deck is that I haven't actually seen all the movies that it references, so I don't always know. For being a film buff, I have not seen every movie. And so sometimes I've been talking about movies that aren't even mentioned in the cards. And maybe you haven't seen all of them. It doesn't matter. We're just having fun here, I think. Sagittarius. Ooh, I love what's coming up for you. Beep. That's so many. I guess I'm going to take it and stop there. Okay, let's pull from this little playing card deck. Great. Okay. We have Katherine Bigelow. I'm interpreting this as the Four of Swords, but it's a playing card deck. I don't know how much thought they put into those types of associations. Okay, we have the Four of Cups, the Star, which I will look up real quick. Judy Garland in A Star is Born. Seven of Coins. The Moon, David Bowie in Labyrinth. The Magician, which is Matt Damon in that Martian movie I haven't seen. The Wheel of Fortune, which is Back to the Future. I have, of course, seen that. Queen of Cups, Amelie. The Emperor, Scarface. Six of Cups. Nine of Cups. Three of Wands, and the Seven of Swords. A ton came out for you, Sagittarius. I dare say too many. So, you know, I feel like with Katherine Bigelow, stuff that the Four of Swords is about rest. Katherine Bigelow, actually, I saw her speak in person once, and she was doing this like weird 3D like VR type experience, and it was about elephants that were being poached in Africa, and elephants are like absolutely my spirit animal. Like I do mean that. I am very deeply connected to elephants, and like I have an elephant like altar basically in my room. I don't need to go off on elephants, especially since we have so many cards to get through. But she was talking about, in her speech, about how, like, art has the impact to make social change and social difference. And how, you know, her goal with, like, the 3D VR elephants being poached experience was to show that this was happening, to really put you in the environment and to, like, make you feel those feelings. And to, like, make people care so that people want to start doing things about elephants. And I was like, oh my god, like, that is really heavy because like it breaks my heart that people abuse elephants, but also it is inspiring because it's like your art does matter, your voice matters, your words matter, your messages matter. And so I think like with this, it's like, let's start, Sagittarius, by just saying that what you have to say and what you have to give and what you care about matters, right? Like it matters not just because you care about it, but because other people might benefit from having your perception. With the Moon and David Bowie and Labyrinth, I kind of am drawn to that next. Like, you know, I think with like Labyrinth, of course, I guess technically he's the villain, but also in Labyrinth, I feel like a lot of the story is about how the way we perceive things is not necessarily the way things are. And a lot of that movie is about following your intuition, and with the moon being like kind of like the subconscious Pisces Cancer energy. I feel like, yes, like there's like a call to really follow your intuition in like this next chapter of your life. And so much of this, from what I can tell, feels like you basically embarking on, yes, a completely new chapter, because we got the Wheel of Fortune and we got the Magician. Like, this is so much Sagittarius. I mean, like, we got this Nine of Cups, and we got like all that stuff. I feel like I'm gonna talk about these cards next. But with the moon energy, David Bowie, Labyrinth, I feel like let's, for a moment, talk about, like, first of all, your voice, your message, what you have to say and do in the world matters, but also what you care about, what you have to do in the world might never have been done before. It might be something that other people cannot perceive. It might be something that is, like, related to new technology. It might be something that is related to, like, a utopian idea of the world. It might be kind of like, it's like the whole thing of, like, people always say, like, this is the way things are. And with the moon and with Katherine Bigelow and our conversation we're having, I feel like the message is definitely, like, that just because things are the way they are doesn't mean that's the way they're going to be. And it's almost kind of, actually, I'm also getting a little Aquarian vibes of, like, calling on, like, a future. And the future is maybe a future that other people do not understand, can't comprehend, but it's something that you're feeling drawn and led to. Like, you know, kind of the moon kind of being led, like the tides, like, being pulled by kind of some force that, like, maybe you don't actually rationally understand, but it's just something that you just keeps coming up and up over and over again, and it's like not ignoring the call anymore. So there's a call to action. The call to action is that you have something important to say or something important to give. Maybe it is your art, and the moon is, like, echoing, like, just because other people can't see it or understand it or perceive it doesn't mean that it isn't real and that you shouldn't, like, move in that direction. Okay. And because we got the Nine of Cups, and this is about your dreams, so don't need to, like, harp on dreams too much. But if you have dreams, Sagittarius, and they've seemed unrealistic or weird or, like, a waste of time, or kind of like there's not going to be any fruit from, like, planting that kind of tree, I feel like, again, the message is, like, do it anyway. And we got the Martian, the Magician. I haven't seen that movie. As I said, I'm a film buff who hasn't seen, like, a lot of movies. But, I mean, it's him going to Mars. It's basically Castaway in space, right? And, like, he's having to survive there. So this is, I would say, to echo, kind of like the dream might be you going to a place or creating a condition or creating a concept that has literally never been done before by someone else, or that is really untested or brand new. And it could be, like, interactive media or VR stuff. It could be cryptocurrency. I don't know much about that, to be honest. Like, it could be like opening a community garden. I don't know. I mean, because he gardens a lot. And maybe, like, thinking about the community garden as being, like, a new place where people can barter, right? And do, like, kind of a gift economy thing. Like, very socialist. And maybe that seems hard because it's, like capitalism, for example, is such, like, a huge force in the world that it feels, like, really hard to imagine that you as one person can make a little community garden where people come to, like, barter with one another. And, like, use, like, a gift economy framework, and you're like, well, what's the point of that dream? Because it's just going to be squashed, or no one's going to come, or, like, it won't matter. But I really feel like you are being told, like, you are the way forward, right? Like, your voice, your gifts, your ideas matter, and just because maybe even you can't really see how this is all going to work out, and you have your own self-doubts about it. But I think it's like you're just being called to trust and to take those steps towards those dreams, even, and to manifest it, and to take the steps towards manifesting it, even if it seems crazy and outlandish and silly in a way. All right. Now, Sagittarius, we're going to move on to the Wheel of Fortune, Back to the Future. This is, I guess, the clock tower moment when they, like, get back to the correct time, the 1980s for them, from the 1950s. I think what I'm called with this, the Wheel of Fortune is about change, and there's a story about the making of this movie where it was like, in the original script, the way they got back was through like some nuclear explosion or something, and it was going to cost them a lot of money, and like they wanted to like blow something up, and it was just like kind of not feasible, I guess. And so they had to think about a different way of doing it, and so that's how they came up with the clock tower idea. And I think that the clock tower has a lot of like whimsy and magic, and kind of like it's all about the right timing, getting something like specifically right at the right moment when the lightning strikes. So there's like a twofold thing, which is like part of it is like part of what might feel overwhelming in approaching this idea is that like you have these like really big ideas, like I'm gonna have a nuclear explosion in like the finale of my movie, for example. But it's like, approach it, start doing the steps towards making the thing happen, and as you come up against obstacles, then you can reevaluate and find, like, using your limitations to find creative new solutions. And that is part of the change. The Wheel of Fortune is like, the process you're in is going to be changing all the time. Like, when you're making a movie, things are always going wrong. And so you're always adapting. And so Wheel of Change is like, move forward knowing that you don't quite need a plan, you just need conviction, and to have like a general gist of kind of what you're trying to accomplish. And then you can adjust, keep adjusting as you move forward, like to let yourself be in the process. And then Wheel of Fortune also, I think, has a lot to do with divine timing in this instance. So it's first of all about adapting and adjusting to change, and then it's also about trusting that there is a timing to this that is like something that you don't necessarily have to be consciously involved in the process in, but to trust like kind of the process itself, even when the process feels like it's going wrong. I mean, that's really what I'm getting with the Wheel of Fortune, is that if you are embarking on this, the universe is supporting you, because I'm giving you this reading, and the universe wants, again, in Katherine Bigelow, like wants you to like speak what you have to say in the world. So don't be afraid to go on the path, and also be open to the adjustments that need to be made. And the fact that there's a timing to this, that you are being supported by unseen forces that are also a part of the ride along with you. That Wheel of Fortune kind of like, the change is being facilitated, like the more open to the flow you are, which I would say is this kind of Queen of Cups energy. Amelie, I need to rewatch this movie now that I have this card in my deck, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But as I recall, a lot of the movie felt very magical, whimsical, and like a little bit about serendipity, kind of like just kind of going with like following these like whims, I guess. And it feels, again, that's like a little bit we were talking about like with the moon, and like you being pulled in a certain direction too. We got the Three of Wands, which is about being on the horizon, looking ahead. So both of these, it's like you have this idea, this vision, or just this feeling, this calling, but maybe you don't even understand it, right? Like, it could be that you only have a feeling about what it is that you want to create, or like that you have to say in the world. So kind of like, I like to make it about writing for a moment. I want to tell a story, and I want the story to be about like how much like this certain chapter of my life, maybe you spent time in France, and so you're like, I know I want to write a story about my time in France, but I don't know what the story is. I don't know how to condense it. I don't know how to like tell it and then compare like a compelling narrative. I just have this feeling that it's really important for me to like document this time in my life and share it as a narrative to other people. Okay. Three of Wands and the Queen of Cups is like to just kind of keep tapping into those feelings. And the Three of Wands is like trying to see ahead and like not being able to see ahead. But I think a little bit is like, well, what can you see immediately ahead of you, right? Like, so, meaning like just starting to collect a little bit of like the anecdotes and then to piece the puzzle together. So with this energy, going off of kind of what we were talking about, the Wheel of Fortune, like you're in this process and you don't necessarily know where it's leading or how it's going to happen or what to do, but you can adjust as you go along. And also maybe your like first steps before you get too overwhelmed are just kind of to take stock, right? To take stock of the feeling and to sit in the feeling and to let that kind of inspire you and to let that motivate the first action. So Three of Wands is seeing ahead, but it's like maybe you don't need to see ahead that far. Maybe you don't need to see the end product right now. Maybe you just need to see kind of the inspiration behind it, right? To tap back into the feelings that are spurring you to want this in the first place. It's like an example could be, I'm not the greatest at coming up with examples sometimes. I mean, sometimes I just talk about me doing tarot. Like, this has really been a slow unfolding for me, right? Like, I've been doing this channel for a while, and it's just kind of slowly growing, and I'm like experimenting with my own process and how I approach this, and I'm learning as I go. It's a little bit like that. It's just, I was called to tarot in 2013. That was like the first time I had a deck, but it took me until like 2018 to really learn how to do it at all, or to trust myself that I could do it. So that's a little bit of the feeling, is like slow and steady, but also like not even so much about the slow and steady of it, but more about the feeling and the calling and looking at the recurring feelings and like stories that you keep wanting to come back to, or like the kind of ideas that you want to explore. So that's what I got with this. I've gone on about them for a while. We got the Star. I mean, we'll talk about her for sure. We have some like little bit of like, I think, so like let's call what we just talked about Act 1, call to action. You do it, you leave the ordinary world, you're on your journey, you're meeting like kind of, you're learning as you go. It's like the trials and the tests and allies or whatever, according to Joseph Campbell. And then there's like always like kind of a dark night of the soul, right? So there might be a point, if you do embark on like kind of going on this road, maybe then we got like the Emperor, Scarface, Seven of Swords energy, Four of Cups. It's possible, Sagittarius, that like going on this adventure or like following this calling of yours is going to have hard points, right? I haven't seen Scarface, to be honest, which, you know, as I told you, I'm a film buff who hasn't seen a lot of movies. But I understand that he's like a drug kingpin, whatever, and I think he dies or kills people. It's just like generally not a good scene to be involved in cocaine. And like the Emperor is like kind of a masculine energy, like an authoritative masculine energy. And I think that a lot of what I'm talking about is going after your intuition and following it and following clues and following serendipity and whims and feelings. And with the Emperor, this could either be you or an external source that like you're kind of like in your process of developing it, and then they're like, well, that's stupid or whatever, right? Or like maybe this is, I just watched Dear White People, and I don't want to like give too many spoilers, but like there's a scene where someone develops a concept that's like really important to them, and then basically they're put in a position where they're like asked to compromise the integrity in the whole mission statement of the endeavor in favor of money. And so it's like that kind of thing, especially with the Seven of Swords energy, which is like there might be a point in this where either you start to doubt yourself, you start to sabotage yourself, you start to like go back on like all the progress you've made, maybe especially if there's like a little bump in the road, maybe it's like kind of forgetting that there's a divine timing and adjustment to all of this. It could be like a getting discouraged energy, but it could also be someone else stepping in trying to take control, especially if you are starting to get a little bit of success, Sagittarius. It could be that like someone is seeing you kind of like lift this like revolutionary idea off the ground that's like totally like never been done before, and that like has the potential to change the world, and it could be them like trying to sabotage you. And then we got the Four of Cups, which is a little bit of ennui. And the ennui is like, you know, what is the point of this, right? Like, this has taken me a lot of energy. I haven't known what I'm doing all the time. Maybe this energy is like you invested a lot of your own personal money into this project. I've certainly had this with things where it's like you've invested so much energy into it, and you hit kind of like a roadblock, or there's kind of like a stumbling point, whether it's your own self-doubt or other people kind of like either doubting your project, telling you to stop, or kind of wanting to make you compromise your own values in some respect. Four Cups would be like, well, why go on, right? Like, why give so much of myself to this when I don't know what the payoffs are going to be, and when like the perceived payoffs are just kind of like all of this misery and like sadness and people like just getting in my own way. It's like, so Four Cups I think is like a little bit of like losing steam or losing like passion, or like kind of losing your convictions along the way, because like this is like, if anything, like the universe might at some point test you in this process, and this I think would be the tests, right? Which is like, are you going to let yourself be defeated by these things, by either your own self-doubt or by someone else asking you to compromise yourself? Are you going to compromise yourself? Are you going to stay true to like your values and your convictions? It's that kind of thing. So like, I guess it's ultimately up to you, Sagittarius, but I don't think that this is where your story ends. It's just something to be aware of and to like know, especially if you can start your journey having a healthy understanding that this might be part of the process itself, or part of the journey, or part of what you come up against. Then when it does happen, maybe you can like remember that and come back to your own center and return to Queen of Cups, your own feelings about the situation, which I think is like the cornerstone of it with this and this, right? Like kind of the inner feeling, the inner conviction about why it is this, you had this dream in the first place, right? So always returning to kind of your own, it doesn't even have to be the answers about how things go, or even the answers about how to address situations like this. But it's like Four of Cups, to overcome the Four of Cups energy, I think you have this Queen of Cups and the Moon energy, which is like, things are not always what they seem. Things might not be as bad as they seem. This adversary might, whether it's internal or external, might not be as powerful as it seems, right? So I think that it's like kind of saying to me, Sagittarius, you know, particularly we got the Six of Cups and the Seven of Coins and the Star. And that would be like, to me, the third act, right? So first act is like, I'm going on this journey, I'm taking the call to action, I don't quite know what it is that I'm doing, but I'm learning as I go along the way, and I'm maybe even kind of like going somewhere that has never been done before. Like, I'm creating my own type of thing, and so I'm like doing all the trials and testing, but it's like based on like a feeling and an intuition, and like kind of me being able to see a little bit of what other people can't see. And someone might try to stop me, but I think Six of Cups has a little bit of that nostalgia vibe. And I think the nostalgia element is maybe, again, kind of what I talked about with Queen of Cups, your own inner feelings, but also I think that it could be to like look back and see how far you have come is like a little bit of what I'm getting, right? Like sometimes when things are hard and like we're like, oh my god, I can't go forward anymore because it's been so like actually devastating in a weird way. I think Six of Cups is seeing where you started, right? And like, you know, with the Magician manifesting, I mean, he was on Earth and now he's on Mars. So I think there's a little bit of like integrating your own successes, integrating your own forward movement, integrating the feeling you had at the beginning always, right? That like that core conviction, Katherine Bigelow, the message, the like voice that you have, the like idea, the feeling of a better future. It's like kind of, to me, the Six of Cups is saying, like, especially if you come up against the Four of Cups, be inspired by your own journey, be inspired by your own progress, be inspired by the moment you're at in relation to seeing how much things have grown. And I think the Seven of Coins is like, maybe, you know, this is going to take a little bit longer than you thought it would. But I think part of it is that it is just a process that you're in. And it's like also about the star, like maybe a destiny that you're kind of trying to reach. But it feels like the destiny has a lot to do with also the collective, especially with what we were talking about at the beginning of this. It feels like what you're doing is not just for yourself, but for the world. And like the star is a card about healing. And Seven of Coins is about planting seeds and continuing to grow them. So I have not seen this movie, as I said, but I have seen Castaway, and I think they're pretty much very similar. So it's like in Castaway, there's a point where he basically wants to kill himself because he's like, God damn, you know, like, I'm never getting off this island, and that sucks. And like, Four of Cups, what's the point of living anymore? And then I think Six of Cups would be like looking back on the past, and he's like, oh, well, you know, like, I have things back home that I want to live for. Like, there are, like, and I'm here, and like, there was something in my past that was worth living for, and I'm still here, so I'm going to keep going because I have made it this far. And so then, you know, he just starts getting really savvy at the island, and like, he gets better through all those trials and errors. So I think that the end of your message, Sagittarius, is like, all of this is teaching you and growing you. So you've been growing. And then when you reach your third act of this reading, or of this chapter of your life, maybe it isn't that you found the solution or you like had the like big victory, but it's like you found the conviction and like a better wherewithal, a better know-how of how to really do this plan. Like, maybe you do have like a little bit of a stronger vision. Like, now it's like less of a feeling, but more of like, this is like how I'm going to build this, right? This is how I'm going to survive and like get off the island. Like for Castaway, he made a raft. Maybe I'll watch the Matt Damon version of Castaway in Space one day, so that I can speak more appropriately about this specific movie. But see, these readings still work for the most part. So I think the star also is a little bit of Leo energy with her being a star. But it's like, I think to me about like, you succeeding at this is also going to heal the world. You healing yourself, you not giving up on yourself is still, again, that gift of what you have to say to others. And it's you not giving up because you are still like, you are now really in a place to grow this thing and make it happen and like help everyone heal. And like, you're healing yourself. You're healing maybe your own self-doubt that what kind of was like a part of the story, or you're healing like, you know, the influence of drug lords over you, for example. You're not letting self-sabotage or other people sabotaging you stop you from this really important mission of healing the world through your gift, your voice, your art, your ideas, your concepts, your business, whatever it may be for you. So, Sagittarius, that was my little movie reading for you. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did like it, please like and subscribe. And I am now offering personal readings. You can see the links below. And I'm opening up my readings like a week at a time, kind of in the moment as I can. And I'd love to connect with you there. So please see that. And yeah, that's it. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.